Hi, it's John from Denarii Games, and in this week's devlog, we're going to cover the work we've done in the last week and a half. Um, Pretty excited. We're releasing all of the work we've done in the last bit to the community. There's a system we've built called the BuildingEntity Manager. It's an outgrowth of the City Manager that videos we made 3 or 4 months ago, which did randomization and so on for our city. This is an abstraction of that. So what it allows you to do is save from the editor any building entity prefab into the buildings table. So when you launch it, then you're going to immediately put in your Mysql settings. I really don't do the SQLite, so it's not going to work with that. But you put in your MySQL settings, and then you can test your connection. So let's put that in and hit the test connection button. And if you've got your settings all right, then it'll come back and say that it's successfully connected to your database. There's one other setting that's interesting. You can always get back to them with that little gear icon, which is the delete from hierarchy after save. Typically, when you're putting a prefab in and you're saving it to the buildings table, you don't need it in your hierarchy anymore in your scene. So turning that little checkbox on will automatically delete it once you've saved it. So that is the Building Entity Manager. It needs a building entity to work with, of course, so that'll be the second part of our video. We're going to go ahead and show you the building table. This is a live demo. Refresh, there's nothing in that building table, and we're going to add a building now. So the other bit of code releasing is something called the RespawnEntity. It's kind of common in a lot of MMO games I've played, whether you call it a life stone or a tree of life or something like that. It's a place where characters can bind when they die. They come back at that bind location. So that's what the RespawnEntity is, the building entity that players can interact with. I've given you a sample little model there. It looks like a little crystal that I built. And we'll put it at the default location for this map. Now the default spawn location is 0010, so we're just offsetting it just a little bit. And what that means is that if a character's never interacted with this live stone before, the first time they come in and respawn, they're going to be right next to that default location. So that looks good. Now we can show you the Building Entity Manager kind of in practice. So with that prefab selected, and that building entity is inherits from the building. The respawn entity inherits from the building entity. Clicking the button will save it to the database. It says successful, and you see it disappeared from the hierarchy because we don't need it anymore. Let's swap back to the table, refresh, and there it is. So it saved that entity from the editor into your database. You really can't confirm it from the entity ID unless you start memorizing what they are, but you can certainly look at the location and so on, and the last save date. So let's pop into the game, and we should see our building entity. There it is. It's a building entity, so I can interact with it, right? If I go use the normal interact with this entity, a dialog is going to pop up. That's the default behavior I have, but you can configure that. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Ask you if you want to bind there. You say yes or no. If you say yes, then what it's doing is it's writing to the characters table a new respawn point, which is based on where you are right now. So I'll click yes, and now if I go get killed and trigger the respawn, you should see it in action. All right, these guys will beat on me a little bit, and there we go. Hit respawn, and I'm right back at the crystal. That's not all that interesting, because after all, it's kind of the default respawn point, right? So let's go add a second life stone to this map. Drag the prefab over. We'll put it over there. Yeah, that's fine. Now you can really see the power of that Building Entity Manager. Quickly save it right into the database, and away we go. Pull the table back up, refresh. We now have 2 building entities, and we can go ahead and test that directly. I just need to relaunch the server. A build is not required because of the database change. So let's relaunch the server. And again, pop back into the game. Awesome. So I should be able to see that. It's a pretty small map, so I should be able to see it right away. Yep, there it is right there. And we'll go over there, and I see kind of in the distance Orcs beating on that life stone, so I need to put another component on that prefab, so it's not targetable, but shouldn't make a difference anyways for this demo. So I could bind there, says I'm bound here, and of course if I go get killed again, I'll respawn at this life stone instead of the other one, and we can see the initial one off in the distance. So the system is working as intended. Let's take a look at the component itself. It's really not much to the building entity component. It's almost like kind of a shell. The only thing it really has is that it's actionable. You can you can activate it. All the logic's in the partials. That's what controls the dialogue, and it's got the server callback for setting the character respawn point. I want to expand on the building entity manager. I think that there is some value there, but you guys let me know. Oh, I'm showing the setting here. Yeah, so this is where you can turn off that entity dialog. That'll change the behavior of that respawn entity. So just activating it will automatically set the bind point without the dialog popping up. So it's up to you which behavior you prefer. And you can also override the languages for the dialog. All of that's the settings in the README file. So if you want to go into Language Manager and add your own strings, you can do that too. So as I was saying, I'm really interested in expanding Building Entity Manager. If there's more things that you'd want to see, let me know, either in comments or hit me up on Discord. So that's it for this week. Have a good one. Bye.